Hello and welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, where I discuss the future of this region. And I'm particularly excited today because in several manners of speaking, and quite literally, the future is on today's episode of Canvas. You'll understand in a moment. But like I was saying, future of our region blessed humongously with hydrocarbon resources. Now, every week we give time to reflecting on topics relevant to the development of the Niger-Delta and her people. Now, this episode, no different. I'm here to focus once again on how to take our region to a more promising future. Now, this podcast is sponsored by the operator of the NNPC, Renaissance Total Energies Ajib joint venture, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited, headquartered in Port Harcourt. Thank you for joining. I'm Adedayo Ilushakin. Topic on this episode: never too young for the environment. June 5th is World Environment Day, a global moment to reflect, recharge, and recommit to protecting our planet. Now, this year, the theme is Ending Plastic Pollution, a call to action for individuals, communities, and nations to tackle one of the most pressing environmental challenges of our time. But today, looking at this issue through a powerful lens, youth activism. Our episode titled Never Too Young for the Environment, and I'm joined by a truly inspiring guest, a 14-year-old environmental changemaker who's proven that age is no barrier to impact. From leading cleanup campaigns to educating peers about the dangers of public waste, this young advocate is showing us that the fight against pollution starts with awareness, passion, and bold action, no matter how young you are. Now, so whether you're a parent, like a teacher, a student, or just someone who cares about the environment, this episode is for you. Let's hear from the next generation of environmental leaders and learn how we can all be part of the solution. Again, a topic for this episode of Canvas is Never Too Young for the Environment. And my guest is Vanessa Cain Valentin. Vanessa is an environmental young changemaker from Nigeria and founder egalitarianism. No, I have to call that line again. Vanessa is an environmental young changemaker from Nigeria and founder Egalitarianism for Earth, who began her climate journey after witnessing severe flooding, waste pollution, and deforestation in her community. Motivated to make a difference, she forged her own path by using creativity as a tool for change. Vanessa authored A Mama, an eco-fiction book that explores themes of nature and responsibility, and produced over 50 animated videos to make climate education engaging and accessible for children. She is also a newly elected Ashoka Young Changemaker of the 2025 cohort. Vanessa Cain Valentin, hello, welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel truly grateful to be here today.
No, I'm grateful to have you here. Trust me, the pleasure is absolutely mine. As I said to you before we started this recording, you give me hope that the future is bright. And not just in terms of the environment, but the fact that we have young, brilliant, passionate persons who are going to do great stuff in the future. I know several times I talked to the creative director here at the studio where we record this, Donald, and he tells me about what the future generation, besides the Gen Z, Gen Beta and Co, that they're going to do mind-blowing stuff. And seeing you lends credence to all that he said. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'll start on this note. And I asked you this before we started recording, but I'll ask again. Are you a nerd?
No, I'm not. I don't describe myself as a nerd.
Has anybody ever described you as a nerd?
Yes, some of my classmates.
Okay. If you don't describe yourself as a nerd, let's start with, who do you think is a nerd?
For me, I think a nerd is someone who is academically obsessed with books, learning, and that. So.
And you're not?
I'm not. I love academics, I love learning, but I'm not like obsessed with the way they describe it, nerds as.
So how would you describe yourself?
I'll describe myself as someone who is very creative and someone who loves to take adventures beyond just what's written in books. And I also describe myself as someone who is passionate to finding out new things, learning and researching, but not like obsessed, because I love to mix things that are more creative and something that is more, that expresses myself.
Okay, when you're not doing research, when you're not learning, when you're not talking about environment, what else do you do?
I love reading fictional books at night, and I love writing stories. Apart from that, I create animations. I'm a certified animator. And apart from using it for just eco-fictions, I love creating animations that I watch for myself, and also 3D modeling.
When did you do all of this, really? Because you're 14 now. So
Yeah.
when did you start when you were 6 months?
No, I started because I was passionate about animation. So my mom saw this training by Yapi, the York Academy and MasterCard. So I joined the program when I was 13. And throughout the program, we were learning how to create animations, 3D modeling, lighting, post-production, and all that. So that's where I picked up the interest from.
And you say you're not a nerd.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's cool. So let's talk environment then. Of course, we might talk about other things in the course of the conversation. I heard that you had a certain experience, and it was that experience that first drove you into the world of caring for the environment. What was that experience? Can you describe that? What experience did you have? What did you see that caused you to, move in that direction?
Okay, so I was just 7 when I knew I could change the world. And this was because of a class that happened in grade 3. Our teacher taught us about pollution. And I discovered that most of my classmates weren't interested. So then I just created a teaching video that talked about pollution in general. Then in grade 4, they taught us about deforestation. But these were just like topics that I felt like we needed to be aware of, not just like to write exams with. But after those classes, I began to witness the harsh environmental reality faced by the people of Rivers State. One of them was deforestation. So oftentimes I would hear people describe Port Harcourt as the garden city of Nigeria. But this felt like an irony to me, as deforestation occurred at a very high rate. And where I stayed did not give that garden city look that it was described as. Then subsequently, there was a lot of heat waves that made learning environments uncomfortable. My classmates and I couldn't even learn in the classrooms during that period. We had to go outside to learn because of the heat, and there was no light during those periods.
That bad?
Yes. And then the soot production that occurred, it was like really massive. Most of my friends' children, they started suffering from asthma, and other children in neighboring communities. And this was when I discovered that something needed to be done. That's not just a topic to raise awareness about, but something that we need to take actions. From the heat waves to the soot and then deforestation, all these motivated me to actually take action and make an impact.
Oh, thanks. However, I noticed something from what you just described. So something happened before these experiences, before the physical encounters.
Yes.
Or maybe before you started to notice them. So you had those 2 classes, right?
Yes, sir.
And then I'm guessing the heat wave, the suit, those had been there already, but you never really noticed them.
Yes.
Until after those classes.
Yes.
Now, however, something happened in between those classes, and then you're beginning to observe what was happening in the real world around you. You said you created a video.
Yes, I did.
I mean, who attends one class and then thinks, I need to make a video about this for my classmates? I mean, who does that? Really? How old were you? How old were you then?
7.
When did you start the animation classes?
13.
Do you see my confusion here? So you hadn't done the animation classes yet.
Yes.
So how were you able to do an animation video at 7 after one class?
I didn't create an animation video. I did a teaching video, like myself teaching the video.
Okay.
Because after the class, when I tried talking to my friends about the topic that they taught us, that is the pollution, they were not interested. They were like, it's just a topic for exam to read and pass.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that maybe the teacher didn't explain it in a way that was more motivating for them. So I said, when I get back home, I'll create a more engaging video. Like, it was just me teaching about pollution and environmental education.
What inspired you to decide to do a teaching video?
Okay, it was because of my friends. They weren't interested, and I love it when I'm interested in something and it's not just only me, so that I could also talk with other people. So it was because of that, because normally I and my friends, we would talk about Disney, we'll talk about books, new books that we found, or maybe places that we went to. But it seemed like this time it was only me that was interested in the pollution. And I was like, maybe the teacher didn't teach it well. That's why they weren't interested. So when I went back home, it motivated me to actually create a teaching video using a different pattern.
What do you think? Do you think it was just that? Do you think it would, I mean, no offense to your teacher might watch this video as well. Do you think it was the way it was taught that day, or do you think there are other reasons why your friends or other classmates didn't particularly take any interest to the teachings on the environment?
Okay, so I think it's because the teacher, he taught it in a very formal tone, just like the way they'll teach other topics. And it wasn't like in a call to action manner that should motivate other people. It was just like a normal topic and him saying that we should take action, that what we do is not good. So it was very formal and not something that was like really, really engaging, especially because they were like 7, 8 in my class. So nobody would take a formal class that serious. So that was like the manner that he taught it.
And then you thought, I need to make a teaching video.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So
because you know what, I've been 7 once, okay? Might be a while back, but I was 7. And I may have been in a class also, I don't remember exactly, but I may have been in a class where I felt some of my classmates either didn't understand what was taught or weren't following or just weren't interested at all. And I don't think I ever thought to make a teaching video. So why did you think to make a video?
Okay, so before that class, because normally I don't like reading school books at home because I find it boring, apart from when they teach us in class. So what my mom used to do that time, she like, anytime we come back from school, she'll shoot a teaching video. She'll force us to like say exactly what the teacher said, what did the teacher teach us, so that in order for us to like pass exams or maybe teach. And that time I like mimicking my teacher. So immediately I come back from school, I'll wear high heels and carry my dad's board and marker and start writing. So it was just normal for me to like come home every day, then teach what they have already taught me, and my mom will video it and keep. But that day, I felt like really motivated to do that pollution video. So it wasn't like a new idea. It was something that I do regularly.
Which, just between the two of us, which of your teachers did you like to mimic the most?
I love to mimic...
Are you sure you want to say that?
Yes.
Are you sure you want to say that?
Yeah, there's no problem.
All right, go on.
So I love to mimic like 4 teachers. There's Mrs. Mary Queen.
Okay.
She was our science teacher. Then also Mr. Anthony. He taught us geography, PE, and the pollution class. There was Mrs. Imabong. She was our English teacher. And the school proprietress, Mrs. Irene. She was like the one that we saw every day that came to assembly to come and caution us or teach us something new. So these are like the teachers I liked to mimic then.
All right, but something I found very interesting here. So mommy had a role to play as far as your interest in making videos is concerned.
Yeah.
Because you used to do that at home anyways.
Yeah.
And that inspired you. Oh, that's pretty cool. You know, I wish my mom taught me to make teaching videos. Well, she taught me other things anyways. So you had the classes.
Yeah.
You made your teaching videos. Do you still have those videos?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them sometime? Please?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Great, thanks.
It's already... Okay, yeah, immediately after this. Yeah.
Oh, all right, cool. So you did your teaching videos, and then you began to see in real life these things that you were taught in class, of which you'd made videos of. And you saw it all around you, even though they'd all been there. Now, how did this experience, seeing it in real life, how did it motivate you to do something about the environment? What happened? What clicked? What went on in your head, if I may say?
Okay, so what made me to like go beyond these teaching videos and like take action, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think is after I noticed all these problems, I was more like raising awareness that we needed to stop all these things, because I felt like this is a very serious matter that is not just something that we read for exam. But during that period, I was watching a lot of documentaries, but I wasn't 7 then, I like 11 or 10.
Okay.
So, okay.
And you were not watching the Disney Channel. You were watching documentaries. All right, go on.
So when I started watching all these documentaries and the rest, because that time I was feeling like it's something that I just need to educate my peers that they should be aware, because they are adults, the government leaders, they are the ones taking it. But during those periods when I was watching TV, mostly these documentaries and Nature World, I saw how there were children my age that were actually involved in all these matters. And then I got inspired when I read Malala's story. So Malala wasn't into environment, but I saw the way she took up a problem that was affecting her community and didn't just wait for other people to solve those problems. And during that period, I also used to I got very introduced to the United Nations. And I think Mr. Antonio, he's the Secretary General. So I would also mimic him as the way he was talking about diplomacy and all those stuff. And then there was Greta, there was Vikativu. All these people motivated me. They showed me that these problems are happening, that I shouldn't leave it for other government leaders or adults to take action. I could make little impacts, and that's the butterfly effect, that small actions can create a ripple effect. So these people, I felt inspired by watching other people's stories, seeing children my age, and also young teenagers who are taking actions when they saw a particular problem. And I realized that these problems, it's not just me to raise awareness among my peers. I could actually take action and make an impact.
You do realize, Vanessa, that the environmental issues is a humongous global challenge. And humongous global challenges are the stuff that adults take care of. All right?
Yeah.
You get that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they do. Humongous world global problems. Why do you think that a kid could do it?
Okay, so most times children are often forgotten in matters pertaining to sustainability. Well, our actions are termed as cute and not impactful, and most times we're not involved in decision-making spaces because people think that all these matters are for the adults because they are big and it's global and it's urgent. But I feel like if we do not involve the younger generations now, they would definitely lack a sense of environmental stewardship and are likely to repeat the mistakes of the past in the future, rendering all our efforts now useless. So even if we're trying to solve the problem now, leaving it for the adults, and they don't involve us, all their actions will be a waste. They are just trying to mitigate the problem now. They are not thinking about sustainability in many years to come. So I think children should also be involved. That's why I said that I will be part of this and other children should be part of it.
I'm sorry, I'm going to digress a bit. You know what? Before I came to record today, I told myself I was going to be very professional and relate with you as an adult. But I can't help it. How did you learn the words that you use? Your lexis is incredible, you know.
Thank you.
How did you get such a very large vocabulary, repertoire of words?
Okay, so our teacher, Miss Uche, that time she was our composition teacher. So she would give us a lot of books to take home and read and also come to school to write essays. So that really helps me. Then when I was 9 or so, yes, I won 30 Books Challenge that was organized by Young Readers Library in partnership with British Council. And during that period, I read over 100 books and I got best vocabulary and best in journal presentation. So it was this competition and Miss Uche's efforts that helped me to improve my vocabulary. And I also took part in a Raising Young Authors learning class that was focused on writing. And the Raising Young Authors class, the 30 Books Challenge, and our composition teacher, those experiences, and reading a lot of books. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Impressive. Let's get back to the environment. I'm sure I'll digress again later, but for now, let's stick with the environment. So, you have your initiative, egalitarianism for Earth.
Yes.
So all these things happened, all your experiences, and you thought, heck, I have to do something about this. Not just wait for the big people to do stuff, the adults. And after all, the adults aren't doing a great job anyway, so why not? Really, are they? So egalitarianism for us, how did that come about?
It didn't really come to my mind to start an organization. I was volunteering with a lot of youth-led organizations in terms of STEM, in terms of environment, in terms of just normal advocacy. So during this period, I saw that there were actually people who could start up an organization, and your organization could be a project that something you're passionate about. And so I began to draft out plans. It started with just me hosting webinars in schools. So I hosted my first project in a primary school where I talked to the kids about deforestation and gave them free copies of my book, Amama. Then after that, I discovered that I could actually like do what other people are doing in terms of the organizations. Because if I just keep going to different webinars or hosting different projects, it's not going to make a real impact unless I bring everything to one and define my mission and my vision. And that was how Egalitarianism for Earth was birthed. For understanding that all these projects don't need to be scattered, I have to like put them in one and create that mission and vision that is needed. And during that period, I was like thinking of a perfect name that suits the organization before I got Egalitarianism for Earth. And when I came across the word egalitarianism, it meant justice. And I realized that we could not achieve any form of environmental justice if we do not tackle the problem of social justice and vice versa. So that's egalitarianism for Earth, both social justice and environmental justice for the planet.
Great. Now, I want us to talk more about some of your personal achievements. We'll talk more on the environment, of course, into more detail shortly. But I should mention this. You are now, 2025, a Ashoka Young Changemaker. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
What does that mean for you? And how did that come about, your connection with Ashoka and all?
Okay, so Ashoka, being recognized as an Ashoka Young Changemaker means a lot to me. It proves that what I'm actually doing is creating an impact and it's capable of inspiring others to make a difference. And being just an Ashoka Young Changemaker has influenced me greatly and shifted my area of focus. It's still on the environment, but something more different. As you know, Ashoka is focused on everyone a change maker. And back then, I was just like focused on let's create that impact. Let's stop what we're doing. But after being an Ashoka Young Changemaker, they taught me that my work is valid, but there's something missing. And that is to make everyone a change maker, not just teaching them, but empowering them with the skills and rights, resources they need to also become climate advocates, to also take charge of their environment. So this is what it means for me to be an Ashoka Young Changemaker and how I feel about it.
All right. You wrote a book.
Yes.
Amama, you called it, right?
Yes, sir.
You created over 50 animated videos.
Yeah.
What? 50? 50 is a lot of videos for anyone by any standards or yardstick to create. Even professional animators who work for the likes of Disney and DreamWorks may not create 50 animated works throughout their interprofessional career. What motivated you to write the book and create these videos? And how available are they? And how effective have they been in creating this new other young change makers, as you would like, I suppose? Okay,
so for the book Amama, it's an eco-fiction, as I said. And what motivated me to create this book Amama is because I noticed that children wouldn't be attracted to those facts and statistics that relates to matters concerning the environment, but will be drawn to cartoons and creative work. Because if they can learn to be superheroes from Marvel, or they can learn to love and be kind from Disney, that means they can learn to be eco champions from the books I create or the animations that are produced. So this ideology made me to move forward and write a book, Amama, that wasn't talking about, because we didn't mention that climate change is the change in this. We didn't say that environmental degradation is the change in this. Instead, I made it more better that saying that this is a young girl called Amama, and I showed her story, how she felt motivated. And this was something that would draw them and keep them to the end. Then as for the animations being produced, Okay, so first of all, the animations that I produce aren't as standard as Disney and Disney and Marvel and all those big companies. But I think they are powerful enough to make a difference. They are very short clips, like some are 20 minutes, some are 22 minutes, some are like they're long, some are short, some are just short video clips. So they may not be standard, but the message they convey is really powerful. And one way that these animations have actually created an impact is the Stories Incubator Lab my team hosted recently. So the Stories Incubator Lab, because these animations, they are very accessible, they're on YouTube. Okay. But I thought to myself that these children, they will just watch these animations and they will leave. What is the main impact? Like they have gained the knowledge, but we don't just want them to gain the knowledge. We want them to be involved, not just watch and leave. So we brought up the Stories Incubator Lab. The Stories Incubator Lab, the motto is watch, learn, and innovate. So what they do is that these students, they come together, we play different animations, we play different eco word series. Those are series that we created that explain different eco terminologies. So after they watch these animations, we don't just move to the next animations. We analyze these animations and we connect them to real world scenarios. Maybe in that animation, they talked about water pollution now. We will make sure that we relate it to real life scenarios. And after they do so, we move forward to project development and also a roundtable discussion whereby they can pour their ideas out on what they thought the animation did not convey or what the animation talked about and how it's affecting their communities. While the project development section of this Stories Incubator Lab is that they learn from these animations and they are able to build and develop their own projects to showcase the power of animations in terms of learning. Yeah.
It's all quite a lot, really. I mean, I'm sure after this, I will have to watch this again just to get some of what you said, but it's quite brilliant, I must say. Quite so indeed. I think we should take a break now, all right? What do you think? By the way, do you have a copy of Mama here?
Yes, I do.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. So it is Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable. I have the distinct pleasure of having an Ashoka environmental young change maker with me in the studio, Vanessa Kane Valentin. We're discussing never too young for the environment. She epitomizes that. We'll return in a moment. The conversation will continue. Please stay with us.
In the heart of our journey, where the sun touches the earth and the wind whispers through the trees, a new chapter unfolds. A chapter where energy illuminates more than just bulbs. It lights up minds. A chapter of unity, a coming together with a common goal to energize futures and illuminating lives. In classrooms, young dreams evolve, inspired by the promise of a brighter tomorrow fueled by available energy. Small businesses flourish, becoming seeds of prosperity. Energy that empowers and is catalyst for growth and change. The future is energy. So, let's light up the path to a sustainable future together. Energy for you, me, and the world at large. Energy for people and planet. We are Renaissance.
Welcome back. It is Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited. I'm Dio. And yes, the future is assured, very secure. When you have the likes of my guest on today's edition of the podcast, Vanessa Kane Valentin. She's an environmental young change maker, an Ashoka 2025 cohort, an animator, an activist, an all-round cool person. Vanessa, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Are you an activist?
An activist?
Yes.
Well, I don't usually say the word activist. I love using artivist, like ARTIVIST, because I use art to raise awareness.
Oh, nice. And speaking of art, before we went on the break, you must have heard, if you watched the first half of this, that besides having 50 animated videos produced, Vanessa has written a book as well, a Mama, titled Mama. This is it. If you can zoom in on this. Okay, I think we're seeing this right now. So this is a copy of her book, and it's just brilliant. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
So how can one get a copy of this?
I think those in Port Harcourt can reach out to us to get the book, but it's not online yet.
Okay. When was this published?
2019.
2019.
Right? We can check.
Yeah. Oh.
It should be 2019 or 2020. Okay, it's 2020.
2020, yes. Okay. All right. All right, cool. We'll talk about this later. But can I keep this?
Yes, you can.
Oh, thank you very much. Will you autograph it for me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's talk about the environment then. This year's World Environment Day, which was last month, by the way. So we're recording this a little late, considering the date for World Environment Day. But is it ever too late to talk about the environment?
No, it's not.
Absolutely. So the theme for this year is ending plastic pollution. What are your thoughts on plastic pollution? How bad is it, especially in our climate? And what are your general thoughts on it, basically?
Okay, so I find plastic pollution not something that's very, very urgent, but something that is very, very dangerous, because the way microplastics are almost everywhere, in the water we drink, in the air, in some of our foods, and according to scientists, microplastics were also found in the placenta of a young child that was recently born. And this shows that microplastics, or plastics in general, they take a very long time to decompose. And this leads to a lot of problems, not just in the environment, but also concerning our health. So it's something that is very, very dangerous, and we need to start working on it now. So that's my thoughts on it. It's something that is very, very dangerous, and it's something that everyone should be involved. Even if you're into tech, you're into agriculture, you're into business, everyone should be involved in anything concerning plastic pollution, as it concerns everyone's health.
Now, you said, and maybe I want to be sure I heard you right, and if I did, I'd like for you to please break it down for me.
Okay.
You said plastics pollution is not very urgent, but it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, those are words.
Yeah.
Not very urgent, but very dangerous.
Yes.
So how can something be very dangerous and not very urgent?
Like, what I meant was that I wasn't describing it as just urgent, because many people just say urgent. It's urgent, but I meant like it's very, very dangerous. Like I was trying to like...
Okay. So what you're saying is it's not just very urgent.
Yes,
it's also very dangerous.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I get it better now. So when you talk about plastics, what are the more common sources or the most common sources of plastic pollution in our environment? And the expression microplastics you used earlier on, what are those?
Okay, so common sources of plastic in our environment, like, it's very easy to find them, are plastic bags, plastic bottles, plastic plates. Everything that we use day to day to carry out our day-to-day activities that are made of plastics are sources of plastic pollutions. Then in terms of microplastics, like, these are like small bits of plastics. I don't really know how to describe them, but they are like really small bits of plastics. Like in glitter, most of those glitters contain microplastics. These are like small pieces, small fragments of plastics in them. Yeah.
So microplastics, really small plastics.
Yes.
How do plastics pollute the environment?
Okay, so plastics do not decompose. This is to say, like, they don't break down until like maybe it takes lots of years, sometimes millions of years, for these plastics to decompose. And then they stay in a particular area and contaminate that area. So if plastic is found in water bodies now, it's actually plastic pollution, as they are contaminating that area. That place is not pure again. And there are marine animals that stay in those areas. So is it that the marine, they are able to take in these plastics into their body systems, and it affects marine animals. And the same thing goes for us humans. So that's when we like describe it as plastic pollution. And these plastics are also made of chemicals. So sometimes the chemicals may like leave the plastic, that kind of thing, and destroy that particular area. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure there are lots of things that we use on Earth or in our communities that may be dangerous, but are also useful. You know, plastics, for example. I mean, they are useful. And the things you mentioned, plastic bags. We use plastic bags. You go to the mall every now and then, or supermarket with your mom, I guess, or sometimes maybe alone, because I have a feeling you can do all kinds of things alone. And you buy stuff, you buy groceries and other things, and they put the stuff in the plastic bags. And that's very useful, right?
Yeah.
Because you need plastic bags to take them home. And then you have plastic bottles, because you drink water from them. Or if you use water bottles, plastic bottles are good. And then you have all kinds of plastics in other. You mentioned plates. We need plates. So what are we supposed to do? Because the plastics help us. We need plastics to live our lives.
Okay, so my first answer for this is the 3 R's. That is reduce, reuse, and recycle. So most times we're not saying that you should totally abandon something. We're saying that you should make use of it properly and properly trash it. So when we say like, first of all, we need to reduce the amount of plastics we use each day by reusing them. And not just like when we're done with it, we just throw it away. We have to recycle them because those plastics can be converted to something more useful. And by practicing the 3 R's, we're actually reducing plastic pollution. Then we also have sustainable alternatives that can be used instead of just plastics itself. Like, I think we could use something like wood, or maybe something that's more organic and doesn't take lots of time to decompose, and still practice the 3 R's. So there are sustainable alternatives and the 3 R's.
We have lots of big businesses whose business, literally, the foundation of their business, the structure of the business is on plastics. What do you think they're going to do when they see a Vanessa, maybe on this podcast or elsewhere, saying that we need to reduce the use of plastics, we need to reuse plastics and all of that? It's going to affect their bottom line. It's going to affect their business. How do you think they're going to respond to this? And what should we do with those big businesses who rely on manufacturing plastics?
Okay, so this question is a bit tough, but I think that they're going to react negatively to this because it's their source of income. But we are trying to like build a more sustainable economy, and by saying sustainable economy, we need everyone, including those big companies, to involved in matters pertaining to sustainability. And I think that they should like try tuning into more sustainable alternatives or controlling the use of plastics, not just like solely relying on plastics.
Let's talk about waste management for a bit. I mean, not just plastics, but waste in general. But like you identified, I mean, plastics, I think, I mean, I'm no expert in environmental or waste matters. I think you might even know a lot more than I do. But from what I see, it appears plastics may constitute a significant portion of even our daily wastes, refuse and all of that. You have plastic bags, like you mentioned, plastic bottles. You have the very popular pure water in plastic sachet bags. Check all drainages in town in Port Harcourt and elsewhere. You find them littering, blocking drainages everywhere. So, how, to what degree do you think waste management or our practices, as far as waste management is, or ineffectiveness, so to speak, is causing environmental plastic pollution, and what can we do about that?
Okay, so most times when I'm going to school, I see like the improper way of disposing our waste is becoming a major concern, as even on the roads, they just dump things there. And another thing that I think like this thing is becoming very urgent is that apart from people trashing it anywhere, people don't tend to like reduce the amount of waste or like reduce their carbon footprints each day. And some ways I could think that it could be reduced, right? Okay, so first of all, I think the government has a major role to play in this. So it's not just about implementing new policies or stating that we need to carry out a task force or a sanitation program. It's about actually taking that impact. So I think if government also plays their role, the rate at which it goes would be the rate at which we tackle the problem of waste management would go smoothly. And then also enlightening others, because many people aren't enlightened, and finding other alternatives to what we do with our waste. For example, last week I was talking with some kids and they were giving us suggestions on what we can do with our waste. And one of them said burying our waste, which was like talking about organic manure. I think things like organic manure can be encouraged.
Can you do that with plastics?
No, I'm talking about waste in general.
Okay.
Well, but as I said, plastics, the best thing to do is for us to reduce our plastics, to make sure that we reuse them and also recycle, because there are other things that these plastics can be done. Because I see that people are turning plastic into new water bottles. Yeah, people are turning plastics into new materials that are being sold. So by recycling, we are controlling the amount of plastics that are being dumped each year.
What impact does it have on Earth, on the world, on our communities and our environment, and also as individuals, plastics pollution? How does it impact us?
Impact us negatively, right?
Yes. Well, how exactly? When you say negative, what exactly is why should I be concerned? Because I don't see any microplastics in my food, so how does it impact me negatively?
Okay, so most times you may not be able to see these microplastics, just like saying microorganisms that micro, very, very small. Okay, and as I said, it's a major health concern. It causes a lot of challenges to us humans. Like there are a lot of health challenges that can come. when we are taking in these plastics, and they are chemicals, so they can like lower the lifespan of us. It also leads to extinction. And when a particular species leaves the ecosystem, our ecosystem becomes more unbalanced because we need every organism to play a certain role to keep the earth stable. And apart from that, as I said, health concerns, extinction leads to unbalance in the ecosystem. I think something that we should also be very concerned about when we're talking about pollution, plastic pollution, is that the more we contaminate the place with plastics, we are actually making the environment lesser safe for future generations. And maybe when future generations come in, they might not have a place to call home again.
We must add floods as well. When drainages are blocked, mostly with plastics as well, we have floods, and that's a big problem in Port Harcourt, and other parts of Rivers State, and even beyond as well. And even other parts of Nigeria, you go to Lagos, you find similar things, and other major cities also, where you have a high volume of plastics use. Have you been involved in any campaigns or projects that target plastics pollution, and what are they, if you have, and what did you learn from this?
Okay, so I haven't done a direct project that was focused on plastic pollution, but as a YPAT member at UNICEF and GenU, they gave us a task, and the task was, because during that period of basic plastic pollution, they gave us a task to effectively communicate the problem of plastic pollution. And so I created a poem that was also shared on Instagram. It was focused on the Niger-Delta, stating that, because most times when people come to the Niger-Delta, they always think that it's only oil pollution, that's the main environmental degradation, but there are other problems that are going on, like plastic pollution. And so I was trying to connect indigenous voices and the problems that were suffering due to this plastic. And I also carried out a campaign with little children, because if children are involved, it's also helping, it's also creating that impact. So we carried out this campaign and this enlightenment session, whereby the children also shared their thoughts, what they could do to help reduce plastic and also curtail plastic pollution in their classrooms.
What challenges have you faced as a young climate advocate, and how have you overcome these challenges?
Okay, so the first challenge that I faced when I started having outreaches with different schools is that the school management, they are really, really strict. And it's very hard to access the schools, because you want to carry out a campaign and the school management may say no, that they are not interested, or maybe they have some strict policies that do not just allow anyone to come and teach them or something like that. But I think I overcame this challenge through effective communication and actually defining more about our objectives, our plans, what we intend to do, and also with the use of incentives. After each workshop, you tell the school management that we are not just leaving, we also carry these children and give them more opportunities, as well as giving them free copies of the book Amama. And this is seen through the Stories Incubator Lab, which we only invite schools that have also partaked in the workshop so that no one is left behind. And another challenge is, when I first started, I had a lot of ideas in mind, but we didn't have the right resources or capabilities to carry out some of them, such as when I starting the incubator lab, or when we started planning of doing the research program, we didn't have a lot of resources, but I made sure that I started with my available resources before I started trying to expand to get grants and the rest. So these are two major challenges that I faced.
Do you think that maybe some of those schools probably didn't want to because they're using lots of plastic and they're not talking to their kids? Do you think so, maybe?
I don't really know, but I feel like it's because they are not really enlightened about these matters.
What advice do you have for other young persons out there who might want to be environmental change makers tomorrow, and on how they can contribute to saving the environment? Okay,
so my advice to them is that they are free to start alone, but never to end the game alone. This is to say that at first, many people may not have that eye that you're seeing to look at a problem. But if you start, make sure that you also carry others along. So it's just first of all, maybe you find a problem in terms of climate change and you want to tackle that problem. You're free to start alone, even if no one believes in you. But in your course of starting alone, make sure to pull others into it by dragging them into the business of climate change. So yeah.
I hear that you have plans to expand your platform, Egalitarianism for Earth, across West Africa.
Yeah.
What are your plans for that, and how is that going so far?
Okay, so first of all, Egalitarianism for Earth is an international civic tech organization. We have over 70 young people who are working from different areas of the world. What we're planning to do is that these volunteers, they were just like working online at first, with like helping with publishing of blogs, maybe creating graphics, helping promote our petitions and the rest. But this time, I'm trying to like create that opportunity for them to carry out activities more physical, this time not just online. So we already have the people who are willing to take action, but this time we're trying to like make sure that it's more physical so that the impacts are greater than just online. And we have our ambassadors, which we are trying to like refine the ambassador program to make sure that it's not just hosting webinars online, but also carrying out impacts in their environments. So this is how we are.
This sounds like a lot of work now, and I perceive that it's a non-governmental organization as well. So it's not for profit, am I right?
Yes.
However, even not-for-profits require funding. I mean, this must have been paid for. I don't think you paid for this using plastics. so how do you fund egalitarianism for us?
Okay, so my parents were the ones that like just giving the resources for now. Like they helped us, but then I learned how to write grants for grants and fundings. But I've been applying to a lot of grants, but I've not gotten any single grant until like few months ago when I got the African Climate Stories grant, which was our first grant. And because of
congratulations,
thank you. Because of this grant, we were able to carry out the Stories Incubator Lab. So since I've learned how to write it and more things, we're also planning of applying to more grants and funding opportunities.
Is this for sale? Because this could raise some money.
Yeah, it's for sale, but when we're doing for outreaches, we usually give it for free.
Okay.
Well, some people have bought the book, but we've donated over 200 copies for free.
How about let's talk about Ashoka for a bit. You know, I want to say congratulations on being one of the 2025 cohorts. I don't know. I want to ask you to speak for Ashoka as to what they're doing. You know, however. What do you think Ashoka is about? What are you doing, and how can other young persons be a part of what Ashoka is doing?
Okay, so for me, I look at Ashoka as a very big network whereby they connect passionate individuals to actually lead the change in their environment, or not just in their communities, their areas. And it's something I understood from Ashoka is that they don't just like pack everyone, like make sure that everyone is an Ashoka fellow. But what they do is that the little they get, they make sure they empower these little change makers, these little passionate ones to go to their communities and empower those with the knowledge that Ashoka has given to them. So Ashoka creates this network of passionate leaders, passionate change makers. And when they create this network, they give them the right resources, the tools, the knowledge they need, and also try their best to reach out to the communities. And Ashoka believes that everyone is a change maker. So this is to say that no one should be left behind in the change-making journey. And this is what we, the Ashoka Young Changemakers and Ashoka Fellows, are also co-leading. So when Ashoka selects us, seeing that we are very passionate about these things, they teach us that we should not leave anyone behind, that we should bring each other together and connect everyone to make sure that everyone is a change-maker, because no one could achieve... not just one person could solve the problem of climate change or could solve the problem of poverty, but making sure that everybody's involved in the change-making cycle. And I think their work deeply aligns with SDG 17, which is Partnership for the Goals, because they are making sure that everybody is interconnected, everyone is working together, there's collaboration. And Ashoka believes in effective leadership that showcases empathy, collaboration, and more.
You say your platform, Egalitarianism for Earth, has about 70 young persons all over the world.
Yeah.
How did you get 70 young persons to work with you?
Okay, so when I first...
Because even some adults can't get 70 people to work with them.
Okay, so when I first started, I've already been working, but you know when an organization picks you to train, that kind of thing. So there was FXB, there was Girls in Research, there were a lot of programs that I've already done. So when I decided to start Egalitarianism for Earth and put the volunteer form out, at first I only got 3 people who registered. That was the first time, but I serious promotions and the rest, sharing it to these groups, because these organizations, they have a very large platform and everybody is working on this climate change. So they felt really motivated to apply, and I also share it with my friends to also tell their friends to also apply. So that's how we got the 70 young people. But these people were just like in different countries. We didn't have a particular team in Nigeria here, but it was during the Ashoka period that I had to publicize it to get people here in Nigeria to also start working for us.
Now, if you had an audience with world leaders right now, you know, what would you say to them regarding the environment and regarding climate education for children?
Okay, so the first thing I would love to say to them is to inculcate climate education into the school curriculum, because it shouldn't be just taught as a one-day topic, like maybe just teach about climate change or teach about pollution and you leave the class. We want that kind of subject in the school curriculum, that climate education should be there. The second thing I would like to inform them about is in terms of import and export. Most times, especially here in Nigeria, we're focusing on exporting crude oil and it's negatively impacting the environment. But I think there's something I'll tell these world leaders is that we should diversify our sources of income. There's agriculture, there's other major areas that are really sustainable that we can invest in, such as agriculture, sustainable technology, those that helps to build a green economy. And I think another thing I would love to tell world leaders is to also involve us in matters pertaining sustainability and in matters regarding decision-making processes, as well as making climate education more creative and fun. Yeah.
We're wrapping this up shortly. Now, I'm guessing, there are a number of parents, guardians who are watching this, who are listening to this, and they're thinking, oh, Vanessa's awesome. She's incredible. And however, while they might think that, oh, I'd like my child, I'd like my nephew, I'd like my niece to get involved with, Vanessa, egalitarianism for Earth and all of the great work that you're doing concerning the environment, but they may have another concern as well. How does this affect your education? How does this affect school? Does it affect school in any way? Because if you're focusing so much on environment and plastics and this and that, and your books and your animation and videos and webinars and campaigns and projects, how are you doing with school?
Okay, so most times I love reading around like the night time. So that immediately I come back from school, I make sure that everything is done. Like I finish my assignment and the rest. Then after assignments, then I now focus on my extracurriculars. Then I'm someone who likes reading in the night. Because even if I come back from school and read during that daytime, I wouldn't like really understand what I'm reading. I like reading during the night. So I think that's day-night thing, balance it. And sometimes I miss school, but what I do is that I copy ahead of the teacher. So I borrow the teacher's notes and I copy ahead so that the day I miss school, I know that I did not miss anything apart from maybe explanations. Then I go back or read on my own. And if I have any questions, I ask the teacher. Then it's not really affecting schoolwork. So it doesn't really affect schoolwork because there's also time for me to read, time for me to do my assignments. And most times I don't like playing in school. So I finish almost everything. Sometimes I don't keep my assignments till I get home. I do it in school and I read during the night. So it works with me.
Nerd. I never heard of a teacher or teachers giving their notes to a student to copy ahead. Never heard of that. But what this tells me is, it seems your teachers have been very supportive as well.
Yes. And normally for notes copying, our teachers, like, they prepare the notes and anyone who wants to take the notes can take the notes, but you must still attend the class.
Okay. All right. So are you hopeful about the future of our planet?
Yes.
What gives you hope?
Something that gives me hope is that I'm seeing that other young people like me are into it, because it's not just me that's advocating for this climate change. Like when I attended the Niger-Delta Digital Summit, I saw that there were many passionate people who are passionate about different stuff. And when I'm working with UNICEF and Ban Ki-moon Center, I see that there are other young people who are very interested in matters pertaining to sustainability. And it seems that each day, these people are also connecting to people in their community and seeing the hard work they are putting in. We know that it's not just going into a waste, that there's still hope for the future.
Vanessa Kian Valentin, I've been recording this for a while. This is one of the, for me, most enjoyable editions of Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable I recorded. And I'd like to thank you very much for granting me the opportunity.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've discussed, and that's it for this episode of Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable. We have discussed something along the lines of the environment. In commemoration of World Environment Day, which was last month, by the way, we discussed never too young for the environment. Vanessa, Kay, and Valentin has proven that beyond any shadow of doubt. And I hope that you'll take a key from what she said. And even as adults, care for the environment, do all we can to reduce the pollution, plastics or any other kind, and get more young persons involved in action to save our planet. Vanessa, thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
To wrap, I'm Adidai Olushakin, and Canvas was brought to you by Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited. Watch across various social media platforms and listen on radio as well. Join us next time for a fresh episode. Bye for now.